Lois Griffin. 5 episodes proving her the worst mom ever. The 5th worst is Peter's ass. The title alone should be enough to warn you about the subject matter that's going to be discussed. But just to be safe, I'm giving you a trigger warning for Lois's complete inability to understand harassment. Turns out, taking off his glasses is all the change that this boss needs to become wildly attracted to him. Angela has never been the most respectful boss, and that doesn't change now. Having seen Peter's eyes clearly, one look at those baby blues, and she's picturing Peter swimming naked with dolphins. Okay, that's apparently the fantasy for some. So what she does next is the classic whoops, drop my pencil moment, which Peter falls forward trying to be polite. What comes next is an uncomfortable moment for Peter and the viewers as Angela grabs as much as she can of what Peter's put on display. He knows that what's happened is wrong and goes home to tell his family about being sexually harassed in the workplace. You're going to have to fight the urge to not scream when you hear Lois's response to his confession. So what, pet? A woman can't sexually harass a man? Jesus. I honestly have no clue what year this woman is living in sometimes. She continues on to make her own opinion even worse by explaining how men love being touched by women. So how on earth can they be harassed by them? Lois, it is taking everything in me to not make this list more hateful. Without the support of his wife, Peter returns to work only to find that Angela's advances are becoming more obvious and disturbing. Just like the 90s Pepsi commercial we all remember for a certain model, Angela forces Peter to rub cold sodas all over his neck. No offense, Peter, but this really should be a job for Cindy Crawford and Cindy Crawford only. The harassment starts bordering on something else when she adds a glory hole in the office wall made for Peter's use only. She even starts to call their home phone, like she hadn't already crossed a professional line or 100. Thinking she's the comedian of the show, Lois finds it hilarious to tell Angela that Peter is enjoying looking at photos of her in the shower. Note to the showrunner, stop giving her lines, please. With nobody else to turn to about what's happening to him, Peter goes to his friend who's a bit of an expert on the matter. Quagmire's advice is, unsurprisingly, to sleep with her. Thinking it's the only way out of being fired, he at least offers to do the dirty work for him by squeezing himself into Peter's clothes and doing the actions for him. But after seeing what Angela looks like, Quagmire calls the deal off. I would have had sex with you, but Peter neglected to tell me that you are a complete dumpster fire. Is there anybody in Peter's life that can even pretend to give a crap that he was assaulted? Thankfully, Peter makes the stand for himself, since no one else will, and tells Angela to go ahead and fire him. But what comes next is some of the most insensitive, ridiculous switch-arounds in an attempt to make us feel sorry for the Abus. Peter goes to give Angela more of a piece of his mind, but finds her locked in the car with fumes filling up the place. He saves her life and finds out that she wanted to end it all because she hasn't been with anyone in 10 years. So, that just means she's forgiven for sexual harassment, does it? Of course, it's a heavy subject matter, so Family Guy try to do what they do best by adding humor to the situation. Meet Reginald, Peter's friend. You can't see the big invisible air quotes around friend because I'm a disembodied narrator voice, but they're there. Reginald just so happens to look exactly like Peter and is attracted to Angela. What are the chances? In case you hadn't realized, this is Peter posing as Reginald. Not only does he take her on a lavish date, he even takes her home to seal the deal. But the ultimate disturbing twist comes when Angela reveals she knew who Reginald was all along. See you at work on Monday, Griffin, huh? Oh, I'm going to have a word with HR about this fake mustache. So maybe if Lois actually cared or showed any compassion, Peter wouldn't have been assaulted multiple times or forced to sleep with his abuser. 10 out of 10 wife, she's a keeper. Coming in at number 4 is proof that Lois will always stand on the wrong side of history in an episode that creepily predicted the future, Hot Shots. Before we jump into Lois's terrible decision-making, let's take a look at Peter's. Everyone knows how the Joker deals with a bat problem, but Peter's method, well, let's just say it's even more chaotic than the villain's. Surprisingly, his gun on a toy copter doesn't work, so he takes out a tennis racket and goes on a path of destruction, accidentally hitting Stewie in the process. Bat 1, Stewie 0. When they get Stewie checked out of the hospital, Dr. Hartman reveals that Stewie never had his childhood vaccinations. But hey, mistakes can be fixed, and this is totally something they're going to fix, right? To their credit, like the good parents they can be, Peter and Lois first read up on the side effects of vaccinations. But this results in them finding an article suggesting a link between autism and vaccinations. You're probably wondering who this trusted information came from. None other than world-renowned. Wait, am I reading this right? Former Playboy bunny, Jenny McCarthy. Oh, this ought to be good. But choosing not to vaccinate isn't enough, as they go about convincing every other parent to do the same through anti-vax rallies at the park and even a harmful PSA. Vaccinations cause autism, paralysis, and even death. The parents managed to convince most of the town against vaccinating their babies. And wouldn't you know it, a measles outbreak in Stewie's daycare leads to Quahog being placed in a town-wide lockdown. Is anyone else getting intense 2021 flashbacks right about now? Surprise, surprise. Lois has a change of heart now that the risk of Stewie getting sick is even higher and tries to go and get Stewie vaccinated. But remember how I mentioned the Joker earlier? Yeah, so Peter may not have dealt with a bat like Heath Ledger did, but he did destroy the hospital containing the town's last vaccines, just like him. Peter gets a taste of his own medicine. Not literal medicine, but he does get the measles when Rupert gets sick too. Don't ask about the logistics of that one. It's too complicated to explain. Stewie runs away from home, worrying that he's next on the list, but there's still the issue of the lockdown that's putting a stop to his plan of leaving Quahog. Like he's the king of the monkey bars, Stewie swings under the bridge, trying to cross the river, but an upside-down train forces him to lose his grip. Again, please don't ask me to explain the logistics. I have tried, I do not know. Lois can only watch on in fear as Stewie plummets towards the river. But luck is on her side as Stewie is swept up into the arms of a skydiving Sean Penn boy. This episode really has it all. The Oscar winner was in the right place at the right time, delivering vaccinations to Quahog. And even though he saves Stewie's life, Lois still has the audacity to not thank him because he once played a homosexual. He offers her the vaccines and calls her out for her original stance on the health crisis. Right, just what I needed, a lecture from liberal Hollywood. It's called Gratitude, Lois. Try it sometime. As the episode wraps up with quarantine lifted and everyone's safe, Lois... Wait, what was that? Only 150 people died, but not anyone we knew personally. Everyone wasn't safe. Well, that's fantastic, Lois. Your rallies and lies and inability to understand science only cost 150 people their lives, as long as you didn't know them personally, right? Prescription heroin, a mother's addiction. For number 3, we have Prescription Heroin, an episode titled... The problems of this episode start pretty early on when Brian falls down the stairs in a rush to meet the delivery guy. Lois rushes to help him. Now, I'm no vet, but even I know that's not good. Of course, Lois has to go through an entire Google deep dive before reaching the conclusion that maybe going to the vet is a good idea. The professional verdict is that Brian has a broken arm and needs to be on prescription heroin for the pain. And Brian's living his best life on it, so she takes half a pill. Now, this must be some seriously strong stuff, or she's just a lightweight because the half a pill has her tripping hard. Side note, who the hell hallucinates Chris Daughtry when they're high anyway? This trip is enough to start Lois's journey through addiction. Before I start ripping a Lois too hard. All right, that's enough praise for this woman. Bottle of wine at the ready. She goes to take the last pill, but Brian beats her to it. I mean, there literally is pain meds, and Lois is still angry that he's had the last one. She's not willing to give up, though, and goes to the only place she thinks she knows to find drugs, underneath high school bleachers. Yeah, so that plan obviously doesn't work out. So the next logical step in finding the final pill is to leave Stewie in an empty tub and get on hands and knees so she can tear the rugs around the bathroom. It's one of her more shameful moments, but she's not done. She does find one more pill, but gets cocky and tries to fling it into her mouth, only for it to bounce off and land in the toilet. Since her hand is apparently too big, a flimsy excuse if you ask me, Lois uses Stewie as a human grapple claw and shoves him into the water. The show's been running for 22 seasons, but it's worth noting that Stewie is still only 1 year old. 1 Lois. It's usually a toss-up between Brian and Lois for who's going to be least likable each week, but Lois makes an easy win for the dog this episode. He pushes her away just in time before she would have drowned her son. Hey, can we get this woman a Dateline episode, please? She's not the smartest, and she's clearly strung out, so convincing Lois of the final pill is in his cage is an easy enough job for Brian. Like there wasn't already enough she's done wrong this episode. Lois tries to get her son's attention by using one of his own jokes. Stewie, noise canceling on, I don't know. Is it just me or is the delivery just off? By the by, Stewie does what we all wish we could do and shushes Lois on the show and cancels her voice out. And so come the withdrawal symptoms. Hallucinations of expired coupons, dreams of past traumas, and judgment from the Kryptonian Council. Lois comes out on the other side, looking more like herself than she had all episode. It might not seem like it, but I can give Lois credit where credit's due. She does thank Brian for all he did for her and beats the addiction. I mean, it was forced, but she does it. At least she's not going to use the drugs again. Let's hope. But she's still going to chase the euphoric feeling. Alexa, play music that sounds like I'm on drugs. The episode ends and leave me with only one question. Where on earth is Stewie's apology for almost drowning him? For the number 2 spot, I have to include Lois's behavior in the first Noel. Lois has always had a problem with Christmas and the stress that it brings, even though she mostly brings it on herself. And this Family Guy Christmas special was no different. Classy as ever, Lois. But this year, Lois has come in with a plan. Divide and conquer. Split the jobs between each family member. Everyone contributes a little. Christmas goes off without a hitch. Foolproof plan. Nothing could go wrong, right? But you know a deal around here, we split everything 50-50 like most couples. Okay, so maybe step 1 of the plan failed, and maybe just maybe this isn't Lois's fault. It's probably a much easier way to teach them a lesson about helping out than ruining their Christmas by leaving. But this is Lois. Is she ever not dramatic? So she makes it to her motel in the snowy mountains of Cabo. I'm about 99% sure that Mexico City isn't known for its snow. Watching the family fall apart without me is better than Cabo. Chris is the first to be sent to join his dad, followed by Meg, and then Brian. If you thought this woman was above kicking a baby out of the house, think again. I declutter my pants. It did not kindle joy. So she finally gets what she wants, a house free of all the clutter that was supposedly making her miserable. And you'll never guess what, she's still not happy. Even her own echo calls her out for being sad and alone. When the family tries to sneak back into the house, they find it, well, empty, obviously, but also empty of Lois. Instead, he throws her off balance and sends her plummeting towards the water. But with a stroke of luck, an oncoming ship filled with trash softens her fall. I was saved by garbage. So she learns a lesson by being saved by the very thing she was trying to throw away all episode. What a message. As she steps back on land, she's reunited with her family and explains her new feelings about finding joy in the little items, no matter how stupid they are. And somehow, there's still no apology. Trust me, I've reviewed this footage 4 times now. No apologies for kicking them out. Nada, nothing. It's brutal, but Stewie's analysis of her actions is nothing if not accurate. Everyone gets a few items thrown away at least, but Peter struggles to part ways with his box of cord to go to his computer from the 80s, because there's definitely a chance he may need them sometime. But to be fair to Peter, all of these things give him joy, a fact Lois can't wrap her head around. She finds her stride and clears the majority of the house of anything that adds a personal touch. The near-empty house brings her joy. If that isn't the saddest sentence I could have said. But she's still not as happy as she wants to be, which could be down to Peter bringing all of his toys into the bed. Rather than remove the items from the bed, Lois takes things a step further and kicks Peter out of the house permanently. Honestly, in this situation, he's the lucky one. Lois's decluttering goes from bad to worse as she starts taking the smallest items, including Meg and Chris's hats, which reveal the pair's Legos. This feels like a discovery for another time. Even the fourth wall breaking cutaways are being decluttered. Donald Trump's hair is unusual. Accurate, Lois, but you're missing a setup, context, tone, delivery. But hey, she has a punchline. That makes a change. The family has let Lois get away with a lot, but Stewie starts to take it personally when she tries removing his time travel machine from the home. She's so focused on her damn cleaning that she's not even noticing the weird part. A 1-year-old has a time travel machine, but removing this still isn't enough. Newsflash, Lois, if removing everything from your life that doesn't kindle joy doesn't actually bring you joy, then maybe you're the problem. Chris is the first to be sent to join his dad, followed by Meg, and then Brian. If you thought this woman was above kicking a baby out of the house, think again. I declutter my pants. It did not kindle joy. So she finally gets what she wants, a house free of all the clutter that was supposedly making her miserable. And you'll never guess what, she's still not happy. Even her own echo calls her out for being sad and alone. When the family tries to sneak back into the house, they find it, well, empty, obviously, but also empty of Lois. All there remains is a note saying that Lois knows she was the issue in the house. Something we can agree on, Lois. In an attempt to find her, they drive to where it all started. When they find her standing on a bridge hundreds of feet in the air, Peter gets the wrong idea and thinks she's going to jump. His heroic attempt at saving Lois would have been great if he had any idea how physics work. Instead, he throws her off balance and sends her plummeting towards the water. But with a stroke of luck, an oncoming ship filled with trash softens her fall. I was saved by garbage. So she learns a lesson by being saved by the very thing she was trying to throw away all episode. What a message. As she steps back on land, she's reunited with her family and explains her new feelings about finding joy in the little items, no matter how stupid they are. And somehow, there's still no apology. Trust me, I've reviewed this footage 4 times now. No apologies for kicking them out. Nada, nothing. But at least Peter sees the silver lining to the episode. A sparse, white living room. Looks like the John Lennon Yoko Ono Imagine living room.